Gordy built the greatest music machine in American history. An $800 loan, a $1 billion empire. He made legends out of kids from Detroit who had nothing but their voices and their hunger. But here's what the history books tend to leave soft. He also decided who those stars could love, who they could be close to, and when they chose wrong, when they followed their heart instead of his rules. He had a very quiet, very effective way of making sure their career followed them right into silence. 10 Motown stars, 10 stories, one man with his hand on every lever. Number 10, Kim Weston. You know it takes two. That easy, effortless back and forth between a man and a woman, Marvin Gaye and Kim Weston pushing and pulling, call and response. That chemistry you cannot manufacture. It hit R&B top 5 in early 1967 and never really left. It still plays at cookouts and weddings and house parties where someone's auntie just has to get up from her chair. But here's what most people don't know. By the time that record was climbing the charts, Kim Weston had already left Motown. And she hadn't left because of the music. Kim was married to Mickey Stevenson, the A&R director at Motown. That name deserves more than a footnote. Mickey Stevenson was one of the primary architects of the Motown sound. The man who developed artists, ran recording sessions, helped build the infrastructure that made hit after hit possible. In many ways, he helped make Motown what Motown became. Then he and Berry Gordy got into a dispute over royalties, over profit sharing, over what Mickey was actually owed for what he'd actually built. When that conversation ended, Mickey Stevenson walked out. Kim walked with him. Because when you love someone, when they are your person, you don't measure the career against the relationship and choose the career. You go together. But here's what that loyalty cost her. She signed with MGM Records, released music, tried to rebuild. Nothing landed. The Motown promotion machine, the infrastructure that had made It Takes Two inescapable, was gone. Singles went unnoticed. Labels changed. Nothing gained traction. She wasn't publicly humiliated. No ugly headlines. She just faded from the charts, quietly, completely. And a voice that had made Marvin Gaye sound like he'd finally found his match never got the solo run it deserved. Kim Weston didn't fight Berry Gordy. She just loved her husband. And sometimes at Motown, that was enough to end your career. Number 9, Brenda Holloway. Here's a name that deserves more than it gets. Brenda Holloway. Every Little Bit Hurts, 1964. If you haven't heard it, go find it right now. And if you have, you already know. That's not just a song. That's a full emotional experience in under 3 minutes. Deep, aching, completely fearless. The kind of vocal that makes you set whatever you're holding down and just listen. Berry Gordy knew exactly what he had. He was the first West Coast artist Motown ever signed. That alone tells you how much they wanted her. And she delivered immediately. Every Little Bit Hurts went top 15 pop, top 10 R&B. And in 1965, she was on the Beatles' North American tour. If you will stay. The Beatles. That's where she was standing. And then she left. Not because of a royalty dispute, not because Gordy pushed her out. She left because she fell into a deep relationship with her faith, a genuine devotion. And she chose that life over the stage on her own terms, on her own schedule. Here's where it turns harder than it should. Don't leave me all alone, my love is strong for you. When Brenda eventually tried to come back to music, Years later, the door wouldn't open the way she'd left it. The industry had moved on. Motown had moved on. The machine doesn't hold a space for you while you're gone. Doesn't matter how good you were. Once you step off the line, something fills that spot.
Every little bit. To you, I'm
a woman who had opened for the Beatles with a voice that should have lasted decades couldn't find the re-entry point her talent deserved. And whether that's Gordy's fault or just the cold physics of the music business, I'll let you decide. But there's something specific about what this machine did to people who chose anything over it. Even something sacred. Some doors don't stay open. The ones Gordy controlled never stayed open long.
darling, you'll see, I can give you.
Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, Martha Reeves. Martha Reeves didn't come to Motown looking for a record deal. She came looking for a job, an office job. She answered phones, took messages, handled scheduling in the A&R department. And one day the artist booked for a recording session didn't show up. Martha stepped in, sang the parts, did the work. That voice was too much to leave in an office. Martha and the Vandellas gave us Dancing in the Street, Nowhere to Run, Heat Wave, songs that became the soundtrack of a generation, played at block parties and summer weddings, and on every car radio that knew what heat felt like. Those weren't just hits, those were anthems. But here's what was happening underneath that success. The relentless pace of life inside the Motown machine, the touring demands, the constant output, the pressure of performing perfection on a schedule, it compounded. Around 1969, 1970, Martha was struggling. Seriously. She had a documented breakdown. She was hospitalized. And instead of the label rallying around someone who had given everything to that machine, Motown went quiet on her. Records weren't being promoted. Attention shifted. When you're already in a fragile place and the people who profit from your work pull back instead of stepping up, that's a specific kind of damage. She was eventually dropped from the label. Now, you can frame this as just the cold math of a business protecting its investments. But here's the thing. When someone breaks down from the specific pressures you put on them and your response is to reduce them, you've made a choice about what they're worth to you. Martha fought her way back through sheer determination, kept performing, kept singing, kept her name alive, but she never got back to where she was. She built some of Motown from the inside, and the machine let her go without looking back. Number 7, Tammi Terrell. This one is different because this story isn't just about what the machine did or didn't do. It's about what happens when a woman's private pain goes unseen and what it costs. Tammi Terrell, you know her voice. Ain't no mountain high enough. Your precious love. If I could build my whole world around you. Those Marvin Gaye duets. 2 voices that seem to find each other from across a room. She was 22 years old when she signed with Motown in 1965. That voice had no business sounding that soulful at 22. But here's what was happening while those records were being made. Tammi was in a relationship with David Ruffin, another Motown star, and multiple people who knew them closely, including Marvin Gaye himself, have described that relationship as deeply troubled, as abusive, something most people watching those records come out had no idea was happening. Something the label was reportedly aware of and didn't address. Then, on October 14, 1967, during a performance with Marvin Gaye in Farmville, Virginia, Tammi Terrell collapsed on stage, right into Marvin's arms. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor, 8 surgeries, 2.5 years of fighting. She died on March 16, 1970. She was 24 years old. And here's what I keep coming back to. Marvin Gaye, who loved Tammi deeply, who felt her loss in a way that rewired him, did not perform live for 4 years after her death. 4 years. It's part of what haunted him was the conviction that the system surrounding her hadn't done enough to protect the person while it was busy profiting from the voice. There is no version of that story that ends okay. There's no clean framing. Tammi Terrell deserved more than what the machine gave her. Number 6, Holland-Dozier-Holland. Let me tell you about 3 men who wrote the sound of Motown. Brian Holland, Lamont Dozier, Eddie Holland. Stop! In the name of love. I can't help myself. Reach out, I'll be there. You can't hurry love. Heat wave. Where did our love go? Bernadette. I could keep going for a while. Holland-Dozier-Holland wrote and produced 25 #1 hits during their time at Motown, including 10 of the Supremes' 12 U.S. #1 singles. That's not a contribution to the Motown sound. For a specific, irreplaceable stretch of time, that is the Motown sound. And in 1967, they asked to be paid what they were worth. They went to bury Gordy with a dispute about profit sharing, about royalties, about the numbers not adding up for men who had done what they'd done. It wasn't an unreasonable ask. It was overdue. Gordy sued them for breach of contract when they walked out. They countersued, and the legal battle that followed, one of the longest in music industry history, kept them barred from using their own names professionally. Men who had written some of the most recognizable music in America had to release their work under a pseudonym, Edie the Wayne, because Motown had tied up their legal identity. The lawsuit wasn't settled until 1977. They built their own labels, Hot Wax and Invictus, and had genuine success with Freda Payne and the chairman of the board. But it took years just to be able to use their own names again. Here's what gets me about this. These men didn't ask for anything extraordinary. They asked for their fair share of what they'd helped build. And the response was, "We will make it impossible for you to sign your own name. That's not just business, that's a message." Delivered clearly to everyone in that building who was watching. This is what happens when you ask for what you're worth. I've known of your secluded nights. Number 5, David Ruffin. The whole darn thing seems incomplete. David Ruffin had one of the great soul voices. My girl ain't too proud to beg. I wish it would rain. That raw, torn open tenor, the kind of sound that makes you feel like you're hearing a man sing from the other side of something he's already lost. It didn't sound performed, it sounded live. He was the lead voice of the Temptations at their absolute peak, and he knew it. That knowledge, that specific awareness of his own indispensability became the problem. David started billing himself as bigger than the group, wanted his name above the Temptations on the marquee. started arriving late to shows, pulling energy toward himself rather than the collective. And underneath all of it, he was in a relationship, complicated, turbulent, that people close to him say was consuming his stability. His personal life was bleeding into everything else. And instead of the machine addressing the person in the middle of it, Motown watched him unravel. In 1968, he was removed, voted out by the other Temptations and by Gordy. Gone. His solo career had moments. Walk Away from Love in 1975 became a real hit, but the full Motown infrastructure that would have sustained that momentum wasn't behind him. Without it, the run didn't hold. Years of addiction followed, legal trouble, instability, and the label that had made tens of millions off that voice never found a way to reach back for him. He died in June 1991. He was 50 years old. And if you've ever watched a machine profit from a person, take everything they had, and then move on without a look back when that person started to fall, you already know what kind of story this is.
I don't want to face it if you're not sharing it with me.
Number 4, Mary Wells. Let me be direct about this one because the clarity is what makes it her. Mary Wells, 1964. She's 21 years old. She has just had the #1 song in the entire country, My Guy, sitting at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. A song Smokey Robinson wrote specifically for her. The first record ever to hit #1 on the Motown imprint itself. A song powerful enough to stop the Beatles' stranglehold on the American charts dead in its tracks. John Lennon said she was the Beatles' favorite American singer. She toured with them in the UK. She was at the absolute top of everything she had worked toward. And then her contract expired on her 21st birthday, and influenced by people around her pushing her toward bigger money elsewhere, she walked away from Motown. She signed with 20th Century Fox Records, and here's what happened next. Gordy reportedly worked to make her departure costly, even attempting to warn other labels against signing her while legal disputes were ongoing. The promotion machine, the infrastructure, the assembly line precision that had made My Guy inescapable, none of it came with her. She never had another top 40 pop hit, not one. And this is the part that stays with me. Mary Wells spent the final years of her life fighting throat cancer. She lost the ability to sing. She struggled financially, so much so that Motown colleagues held benefit concerts to help her cover medical costs. She died in July 1992. She was 49 years old. Nothing you can say could tear me away from my God. Some of y'all are nodding right now. You know how this pattern works. You've maybe seen it in other places. The moment someone chooses something, or someone, over what the machine needs from them, the machine stops working for them. At 21, she was on top of the world. At 49, friends were holding fundraisers. Number 3, Florence Ballard. If you know this story halfway, I want you to know it the rest of the way. Because halfway doesn't do justice to what actually happened. Florence Ballard was not just a member of the original Supremes. She was a founder. She's the one who formed the group. She brought Mary Wilson in, then Mary brought in a girl from their neighborhood named Diane Ross. And Florence Ballard is the one who chose the name Supremes, even when Diane Ross objected to it. She built the foundation that everything else was built on. And by 1963, Berry Gordy had decided that Diana Ross was the Supremes. The lead voice, the face, the future. The group's name would eventually be changed to Diana Ross and the Supremes. Florence's role slowly, deliberately reduced. as Gordy poured his attention and, by every account, his love into Diana's trajectory. By July 1967, it fell apart publicly. Florence showed up to a performance at the Las Vegas Flamingo in a state Gordy found unacceptable. He fired her the next morning. She was 24 years old. She was replaced by Cindy Birdsong. Then a Motown representative sat across from Florence Ballard with a release to sign, giving up her rights, her claim to the name she had chosen for the group, cutting off ongoing royalties in exchange for a settlement that was far less than what she was owed. Florence signed it without her own legal representation at the table. She signed with ABC Records, 2 singles, neither charted. Her album was shelved, and what followed were years of legal battles, financial desperation, and quiet unraveling. While Diana Ross and the Supremes kept climbing, Florence Ballard died on February 22, 1976. Coronary thrombosis, on welfare, 3 daughters at home. She was 32 years old. Berry Gordy's floral arrangement at her funeral read, "Goodbye, Flo." Number 2, Marvin Gaye. Of all the stories on this list, Marvin Gaye's relationship with Berry Gordy is the most complicated, and I mean that in every possible direction, because Marvin Gaye married Berry Gordy's sister. In 1963, Marvin married Anna Gordy, Berry's older sister, who had been in the music industry herself long before Motown existed, which meant the dynamic between Marvin and the head of his label wasn't just artist and boss. It was family. It was Sunday dinners with the in-laws. It was a tension that ran through every creative disagreement and every business dispute, because none of it could ever be fully separated from the personal. Gordy had enormous creative expectations for Marvin, wanted him to be a mainstream pop crossover star, standards, tuxedos, the full package. For years, Marvin delivered, but underneath that compliance, something else was building. In 1971, Marvin Gaye tried to release What's Going On. Berry Gordy reportedly called it the worst thing I've ever heard, told Marvin it would ruin his career. A protest record wasn't what he wanted coming out of his artist. Marvin held his ground. The record slipped out. Within its first week, it had sold over 100,000 copies. It became one of the greatest albums in the history of recorded music. Marvin won that battle, but the war between them, personal, financial, creative, kept going. He fell in love with Janice Hunter while still married to Anna. The divorce from Berry's sister was contentious and financially devastating. He left the country for Europe in the early 1980s, running from debts that had compounded for years. He came back, made one last great record, Sexual Healing, 1982. On April 1st, 1984, be one day before his 45th birthday, Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his own father. Even when Marvin won, the fight had cost him. Everything inside that machine had a price attached to it. Number 1, Diana Ross. Here's the thing about number 1 on this list. It's not the most tragic story, it's the most revealing, because Diana Ross wasn't buried. She was elevated, she was protected, she was loved. And in some ways, that's the most controlling story of all. Because when love and control occupy the same space, you don't always know which one you're inside until you try to leave. Berry Gordy. became romantically involved with Diana Ross in 1965. The relationship lasted years. Their daughter, Rhonda, was born in August 1971. Though the paternity wasn't publicly acknowledged for a long time, Diana had married music executive Robert Silberstein in January of that year, 2 months into her pregnancy. Silberstein raised Rhonda as his own. And while all of that was happening privately, Gordy was building Diana into the biggest star in the world. Publicly, methodically, he groomed her image, chose her songs, shaped her presentation. It moved her from the Supremes to a solo career, renamed the group after her, produced her films. I wanted to make her the biggest star in the world, Gordy said. And she believed in me enough to let me do that.
Remember, life holds for you one guarantee.
Her first husband had a different view. He told People magazine, "My wife belongs to that company. She's totally dominated by a man who never read a book in his life." Diana's response: "I wanted it that way. It was safe." She left Motown in 1981 for RCA Records. A $20 million deal, the most expensive recording contract in music history at that time. And here's the detail that tells the whole story. After everything she had made for that label, all the records, all the revenue, all the cultural weight of 20 years, Diana Ross had $300,000 to her name. She didn't leave because she fought back. She left because the math finally became impossible. And Berry Gordy said he was in guttural pain when she signed elsewhere. Not anger, pain. Because when love and control live in the same house, when you genuinely cannot tell where one ends and the other begins, the separation doesn't feel like business. It feels like something breaking that can't be put back together. Diana Ross survived, thrived even, but she spent decades inside a structure where the man who loved her most also controlled everything: what she recorded, how she looked, who stood next to her on stage, what her life looked like from the outside. And she called it safe. That's Berry Gordy's Motown, told from the inside. And whether that's a love story or something else entirely, you already know what you think.